Today I'm going to do something a little different. So far, I've just been extemporizing. Today I'm going to read one of my blog entries, and it kind of is an overview summary of where I see our Western culture at the current moment. It's called Time is Due. We've entered an age of an existential battle between factions of the globalist forces and humanity. Watching the geopolitics play out on the world stage is a kaleidoscope of conflicting information, truths, half truths, and lies designed to manipulate, control, and reduce you to a confused state of fear. How do we sort out what is true and on what level of abstraction? What is true on one level may be a lie on another. The Ukraine special military action is a case in point. Did Russia invade eastern Ukraine in 2022? Yes. Was it unprovoked? Well, how far back in time do you want to go? The Ukraine has had a reputation for the most corrupt country in Eastern Europe for decades. The CIA apparently funded groups that overthrew the duly elected government that was sympathetic to and aligned with Russia. The USSR was one of the most powerful global powers that the Ukraine was a part of until late last century. Many of the weapons and heavy artillery were left in Ukraine after the split up, and they were the remnants of the arms made by the USSR that has been used against Russia during the early days of the war until they exhausted the supply over the course of the last 3 years. This is just one of a myriad of issues that are being portrayed in a very narrowly defined light by the centrally owned news distribution services, Reuters and Associated Press. These are clearinghouses for editorialized, skewed information spread by news services owned by a cabal of globalists that have infiltrated every Western government. The WHO and the EU are globalist organizations that are unaccountable to the people of the countries that fund them. This cabal of globalists also have infiltrated every Western government using taxpayers' money to misinform the public on as many channels as they can purchase, bribe, threaten, or sideline. The UN and the WHO, the IMF, the World Bank, and many other international organizations have been taken over and increased their control and power over sovereign nations in the name of false flags of health, safety, and climate security. This shadowy group has also taken over the international money supply and moved it from gold-backed currency to a fiat-backed currency. The purpose of this has been to manipulate and cause inflationary policies that enrich the wealthy asset holders to the detriment of the people using the currency to live in every country on the planet. Let's call it an inflation tax, as its purpose, quantitative easing, is to reduce the spending power of the currency as more money chases the same amount of goods, causing inflation. This is only a stepping stone for the globalist power grab, as their end goal is the universal adaptation of every country globally of the central digital bank currencies, or CBDCs, and adoption of digital ID for the purpose of controlling the flow and use of the entire money supply of humanity. They tell it's for our convenience, for security, for safety. Let us look to China, who has already forged ahead with these policies and added in a social credit score. You have a perfect storm of extinguishing human rights. Add in facial recognition for controlling movement of people and management of activities. Let's add programmable money, which gives people running the system absolute power over everybody within the system. This whole control system, of course, requires 5G to work, as bandwidth usage is staggering. This is one reason why studies about the dangers of 5G and EMF, or electromagnetic frequencies in general, have been actively suppressed. It is no accident that China was the birthplace of the new generation of open source AI that uses 1/10 of the electricity to run. AI allows a very fine sifting of information and with the ultimate purpose of total control over those within the system. Don't want a vaccine? locked down in your 15-minute city apartment, awaiting the meta controllers to come and force vaccinate you, trapped by a facial recognition and AI powered tracking system. You can only do what you're permitted based on your compliance score called social credit. Happy days. You will truly own nothing and be happy, or else. This is the existential war we are faced with, my friends, and although it is a grim fate, the play is still in motion, and they have cut things loose, and it's anybody's game now. I was not all that crazy about the old normal, and I'm working towards creating a better one. There are forces at work against this fate that hangs in the balance, and the control narrative is crumbling around them. The globalist powers are getting desperate. Their carefully constructed plans are failing. Their long set up goal is off the rails. Humanity is the prime force on this planet, and I'm engaged in the study of how this all works on a local level that has global implications. We are in the most hopeful time in human history, despite the risks of being engulfed in a totalitarian regime, one like has never been seen before. There are people creating incredible things and sharing them freely on the internet. That is the strength of humanity, unbound creative expression generously shared for the benefit of all. We are the power on this planet, we humans of immense power and vision, and a small group that has figured out how to manipulate this power for their own ends has been working hard to bring about our enslavement. The movie The Matrix is a parable of both possibility of the fate of humanity and the salvation through the indomitable human spirit. I've been laying out the foundation of how this works and how to access this power that you already are a master of using. The crux of the matter is how to do this consciously for the common benefit of humanity. I say you are already a master of this because you've been trained from birth to use this power. I've also spoken the vision of a golden age of humanity that's within our grasp. I've spoken of control and influence. The more control you seek, the less influence you have, and the more energy it takes to maintain that control. The more influence you seek, the less control you need. This latter course is the key to our prosperity. Influence is how we utilize the energy that flows around us, through us, and both guides our lives and is shaped by us. The key question is, who is guiding this shaping? If it's not you consciously shaping the flow of energy, you are following somebody else's patterns. The oligarchs that would make us all slaves use fear to shape the energy patterns, to enslave and harness us like the people in creches in the Matrix. This brings us back around to habits or patterns of behavior, programs as it were. We have all been programmed from birth, and this is not in and of itself a problem. Patterns of behavior can be protective, destructive, limiting, or freeing. As you analyze your own behavior patterns, you'll find conflicts and dead ends that lead to disharmony, static, interference, and disconnection. There are also patterns of alignments and connections that lead to expansive pattern shifts, energetic alignments, and harmonious resonant patterns. Our work is to recognize the limiting patterns and use our thoughts, observations, and creative energy to shape the expansive patterns. If this sounds like fluffy mumbo jumbo, I hear you. Let me be crystal clear. This is a war we are engaged in, and the tools that will make the difference in this war are not guns and ammo, soldiers and generals. This is a metaphysical, spiritual war, a war between the forces of conformity and control and the forces of freedom and the celebration of the magnificence of human ingenuity. This is war, as I said, it's existential in nature. Our way of life is at stake. Over the last 5 years, we have all seen the erosion of freedoms and prosperity. We have seen the deliberate cultural and social destruction in every way a government can meddle. This has been deliberate. If it happened in one country, sure, but in every country in the West in lockstep, no way. This has been deliberate. Enough setting the table. Let's see what's on the menu. This all starts with a vision, one that the majority can buy into, that speaks to the yearnings for what speaks to all of us at the foundational level. Every country can find its own pattern. All countries are in the process of exhibiting harmonies of the base patterns foundational to human thriving. Let us take a look back at where the latest battle began. The twin thrusts of pandemic and climate catastrophe were the weapons the global elitists used, and their purpose was to increase the power and control over humanity. The detail we can argue over, the effect and the direction it's moving the goalposts, is what really matters. So what to do to change the direction things are going? Well, what is driving it in the first place? Without changing the driver, we'll be fighting a frontal assault. That's a waste of energy, and I'm all about getting the biggest bang for the buck, so to speak. We're not starting from scratch. There are forces at work that are starting to make the play for empowering the people. It started in Canada. It was the truckers and the Freedom Convoy that broke the spell of hopeless fear and gave expression to the unbound joy of human celebration that reverberated around the world. It was not an insurrection, it was a tailgate party in the dead of winter in the frozen north, a celebration of vision of the proud people taking back their power. As I said, not all wars are fought with guns. This battle was fought with dance parties, hot tubs, and bouncy castles, patriotic flags, and embracing a common vision. In the USA, it is the MAGA and MAHA movements that have become a landslide, gaining strength as it roars down the rigid control oligarchs' vision of the transhuman prison society. This is a cacophony of 1,000 crashing boulders running through the opposition and overwhelming it. It has not lost momentum. It has driven even harder against the resistance for its path through the deep state-controlled systems that have been bleeding the people of their life, energy, and power. There are heroic people making a stand for humanity throughout the world, and the war for this vision of the future is in full swing. Our job is to enlist in the battle, take up the banner that speaks to you, and to go over the top. Make no mistake, it was not just those that are in the spotlight that are making this happen. For every one of them, there are thousands of us bolstering their vision and feeding their charge. The Canadian truckers had highways and overpasses lined with cheering supporters, braving the minus 20 degrees Celsius weather to wave flags and provide fuel, food, and a warm place to rest. This was a movement, a wave that began out west and surged through the country, picking up groups along the way. There was no leader. There was only leadership everywhere you looked. This was not an army. This was a band of warriors. They went to Ottawa to speak truth to power. Now that I have your attention, listen up. You've already mastered this energy, as I had said before. Now it is time to learn to wield it consciously, to fulfill your vision of the future worth living. I've spoken to you a vision. Get in touch with yours. Make it real by talking about it, writing it down, taking action on it, and enlisting others that share your passion for bringing about greatness for humanity. This is a battle, and you need focus. Distractions get brushed aside when you're protecting the people, the community, and the future you are nurturing. And that's where we're at. Now it's up to you.